Hi, this is Shantia Meekum, making the video essay for my microbiology class on parasitic diseases. So I'm going to start out just by defining a few words here. So Plasmodium is the name of the parasite that causes malaria, and it is an obligate intracellular parasite, which means that it requires a foreign cell, a foreign host cell, in order to reproduce. The disease it causes is malaria. Later, we'll talk about some signs and symptoms of malaria. So, a sign is what you can see. It's something like a broken bone or a rash. And a symptom is something that the patient reports feeling, like nauseous or pain. There are two types of hosts required for malaria. The first is an intermediate host, and that's where asexual reproduction takes place. In this case, it's going to be the human, and a definitive host, which is where sexual reproduction takes place. And for malaria, it is a mosquito. All right, so now we're going to get into the life cycle here. So we're going to start out with number one, which is when an infected mosquito bites a human. Whenever the mosquito bites the human, the parasite is released into the bloodstream and it travels to the liver. So number two is when we're in the liver, and it is where the first round of reproduction happens, which is called schizogeny. Schizogeny is many cycles of nuclear divisions than one cytoplasm division, and it releases many offspring. These offspring are called merozytes. So after reproducing in the liver, it releases merozoites, which go into the bloodstream. And once in the bloodstream, it infects red blood cells. And the red blood cells is where the next stage of reproduction happens, right here, which is called the ring stage. So number 5 is the ring stage, which is where more merozoites are made in the red blood cells through reproduction. And when the merozoites are released into, so the merozoites are in the red blood cell, and then it eventually causes the red blood cell to rupture, which releases more merozoites into the bloodstream, and that causes chills. So some of the merozoites are going to infect other red blood cells and continue reproduction. And other merozoites are going to become male and female gametocytes. And this process is going to cause anemia due to the destruction of the red blood cells. So the next step is number 7, which is right down here. And that is where another mosquito, so a second mosquito, bites the human, and it ends up ingesting these gametocytes that were produced in the previous stage. So now we're back in the mosquito. So we did the 2 rounds of asexual reproduction. The first was in the liver, and then the second was in the red blood cells. And now we're back into the mosquito through a second bite where they ingested the gametocytes. And then in step number 8, which is right here, the male and female gametocytes are going to join to make zygotes, and this happens in the digestive tract of the mosquito. So the zygotes are going to form new parasites, and they're called sporozoites. So finally, in step 9 here, so here we have gametocytes, male and female, combining to form zygotes. The zygotes produce new parasites called sporozoites. These sporozoites travel to the mosquito's salivary gland, and it enables the mosquito to infect another human with their next bite. So that's the whole life cycle of Plasmodium. And now we'll talk about signs and symptoms of malaria. Some of the earliest signs are fever, which is due to simultaneous waves of merozoites escaping and infecting the red blood cells. Headache, nausea, fever, and chills and sweating. Later symptoms are anemia due to the destruction of the red blood cells, meaning that not enough oxygen is getting throughout the body. Vomiting and jaundice. Jaundice is caused by the hemolysis of red blood cells, which ends up affecting the liver, making it not able to do its job. And then the final symptoms are kidney failure, seizures, mental confusion, coma, and death. So that's the life cycle of a plasmodium, and that's the results of malaria.